Show and tell. Here are some of my precision tools and a rack that I use for holding them. I made this rack about a dozen years ago or so. Before this, these tools, they were all scattered in the bottom of drawers, and that was really that was a disaster. It's so annoying when all your tools are disorganized. I set out to find a way to organize pliers, and I found this wooden plier rack on the Intertube. I bought one, and I used it for maybe a year, maybe 2 years, but I found it really annoying because, well, the way it held the pliers is that the business end of the plier was buried deep in the wells, and, well, a lot of my pliers have the same handles, so I was unable to, it was annoying. I couldn't figure out what pliers I was grabbing. I was always grabbing the wrong pliers. So I went looking for other types of plier racks, and I found this one design that is, well, replicated in many different iterations on the internet and often quite cheap. Looks really easy to make. It's just a simple plier rack, uses 3 dowels and some side pieces. And in such a rack, your tools, your pliers are business end upwards, so you can see what you're grabbing. And, well, that looked a lot better. However, around then, I was also building up quite a collection of these VHA precision screwdrivers, and I wanted something to hold my screwdrivers as well. Screwdrivers and pliers go hand in hand. You want them together. So I thought I could make something better than that plier rack. VHA has their own screwdriver rack. It's machined out of Ullman. It's beautiful. A little bit overkill in my opinion. And I decided I can combine the plier rack and the VHA screwdriver rack and make this. Pliers on one side, screwdrivers on the other. Okay, let me start off with a go-through of my screwdrivers and the pliers, and then I'll show you the dimensions of this in case you would like to make something similar on your own. Let's go through the tools. Starting off here is an SK Tools USA. I bought this from Harry Epstein Tools. Harry Epstein, they sometimes have closeouts, very cheap occasionally. And this here is a nice small pair of pliers, sprung, very good for grabbing things with a good deal of gripping strength. The serrated edges, not so good for delicacy. These Erem pliers, on the other hand, that is what I grab when I want to use care. My favorites are these Erem pliers. I also got these from Harry Epstein Tools, and they were not too bad price there. I think I paid $25 American for it. Erem is ordinarily pretty expensive. Nonetheless, you can find them on the Fleabay, you can find them on the Bezos Bazaar. Sometimes they go on sale, maybe $60 or $50, something like that. They are worth it. They're fantastic. They have a spring return, but you notice anything missing? Where is that spring? Their spring mechanism is internal. It's a really cool little mechanism. Here, I'm going to show it to you. And this spring mechanism, it provides a really good tension. Out of all the sprung pliers I've ever tried, whether it's a coil spring or leaf spring or whatever, these really do have the nicest action I find. Well, after that, I got another chain nose, smooth. That one was smooth as well. Sometimes I grab these, a little bit smaller handle. Sometimes that's desirable. Some flat pliers here. These are very good for straightening out electronic leads. I have 2 flushed cutters. This here is for soldering work, circuitry work. Even though these are really nice, especially these tiny ones, I find myself most frequently reaching for these Knipex nippers. I really like these because they got this little mechanism here, and what that mechanism does is it prevents electronic leads from flying across my shop and, well, accumulating in the corners. This is a very handy tool. Now, for screwdrivers, I've kind of built up a collection over time, one set at a time. For instance, here is a set of flathead drivers. That's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 drivers, flatheads. Most annoying fucking screw there is, and you'll want a wide variety of sizes to fit the screw just right. And if you pick the right screwdriver, it makes unscrewing or screwing them in, tightening or loosening, just a little bit less annoying. Also, they're useful for prying and other things that you're not really supposed to use screwdrivers for. There's 4 Phillips drivers here. This one here is a PH triple knot, PH double knot, PH knot, and a PH1. And after that, I got 5 ball hex drivers. VHA does make regular hex drivers as well, but I don't really see the point of that. For regular drivers, if you want to get a little bit more torque, then just use some L keys to do that. But for electronics, where often screws are just driven into plastic, a ball head is more than adequate, and it just makes things a little bit easier. And then after that, I got a set of 8 Torx drivers. I think it goes from T3 up to T10. Handy for a lot of electronics nowadays are using Torx. Now, after the screwdrivers collections, I have 2 more tools that I keep on hand. This one here is one of my favorites. This here is a magnetic pencil. Just a little magnetic tip here. Really handy for a lot of things. Sometimes just grabbing something. Sometimes I use them just for determining what sort of metal I'm dealing with. Is it steel? What type of stainless steel is it? Is it 316 or something else? Yeah, this here is one of my most grabbed tools, actually. And then after that, I got a General Tools Carbide Scribe. Quite useful. It's really good to have a pointy little stick on hand. This here once had a magnet on the end. I sawed it off and I sanded it down so it's no. It's nice to have a magnet when it's nice to have a magnet when you want a magnet, and it's annoying to have a magnet when you don't want a magnet. So that's why I did that. Anyways, let's move on to the plier rack and take a look at its dimensions and just a little bit of construction notes. This here is just made out of hard maple project wood that you can get at the Homeless Depot, or you can get it at Lowe's. And the pieces I'm using here are 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch hard maple. Overall length is I made at 8 1/4. Height is about 4 inches, maybe just a little bit shy of that. Now, how it was constructed is when these 2 parts were separate from each other and cut to size, you clamp them together in a drill press and you drill the holes through, and that gives you a nice little well at the bottom so that your tool stays nice and sturdy in there like that. And then after those holes were drilled, the holes, by the way, they are, what are they? They're 3/8 inch. After the holes were drilled, give them a bit of a countersink. That just makes it a little bit easier to drop your tools into place. And then after that's done, just use a handsaw. You can cut out these squares. Cut this one out into a triangular profile. See that? And then after you get that cut, just use some coarse sandpaper to smooth it out. And screw it together like so. And Bob's your uncle. You're done. Some additional little things that you can add to it. These little elastomer feet, these are great. I buy these at Lee Valley, and I have, several dozen of these on hand at any moment because they are really useful for repairs and for all sorts of little projects. And then the last thing that I did, you might think of something like this yourself. If you got a metal pegboard, put some cup magnets on the back. And that way you can hang it on your pegboard. It's really, really handy. You can just grab and put it on your bench, or you can hang it up to get it out of the way. So anyways, that's my little tool rack. Maybe you like it. Maybe you make something similar. Maybe you make something better. If you do, let us know in the comments below. Now, if I was to do things differently, What I think I would do is add at least one extra set of holes and maybe even a second set. And I kind of think it'd be nice to have some square holes because I got some tools that might benefit from that don't fit into these round holes. Take, for instance, this little hobby knife. It would be nice if that could fit in there. Another couple that I'd like to fit in there are my little tweezers. I got this one here, and I got this one here. These are titanium. These are by Hozan from Japan. Titanium is great because it's completely non-magnetic. But these tweezers, they don't really fit in those holes very well. And some extra holes. Let me just show you a couple other micro tools that I find useful. It's good to have some probes. Probes are awfully handy just for scraping things, poking things. Yeah, you know, that sort of business. Yeah, it'd be nice to have some probes fit in there. I have these three tools, which are pretty nifty. These are from General Tool USA, and these are screw starters. This one here is for starting Phillips screws. This one here is for starting nuts. And in this one here, you can start a slotted screw with them. Isn't that wild? Yeah, it'd be nice to have these on hand. Do occasionally grab them. At the moment, they're at the bottom of a drawer. Some other precision tools that could be handy include these little eyeball pluckers. These are good for extracting screws or small parts that are not magnetic. If something falls into the bottom of a chassis or something like that. Also be nice to be able to hold on to some miniature scissors, some very fine scissors, and here's another little, somewhere between a tweezer and a pair of pliers. These are sometimes handy to grab onto. Anyways, I hope that you enjoyed this little show and tell. Thanks for watching. Take care, subscribe, and bye-bye.